Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy.
and this is Geek Tank.
Your I know what we're talking about. AI
Yes,
size
podcast.
podcast. Look, I'm not AI. I
No.
have
Hey, finger.
fingers.
This finger goes this way.
Yes.
Okay. Um. So today we're going to talk about again AI, but mostly because I've been I have been once again disturbed by AI in a way that kind of bothered me. So first, I'm going to bring up this picture that I have here. And I just need to get it set up. My mouse. There we go. So I'm going to share my screen.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Brent. All right. So a while back, oh, good. A while back, I was shocked to have this come up in my meta. So what Meta was saying was, hey, we can take one of your old pictures and AI it for you. And I was like, well, that's obnoxious. And it's like, I mean, first of all, it's insulting to some degree. And I really don't like it. But the picture it generated, I mean, I mean, whoa. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at least, and I mean, this look on her face is like, well, he's touching me with all 27 of his fingers again.
Mhm.
So at least that's not it's not really like one of
Let's
those
see how
things
many.
where
Let's see how many fingers are on the original.
right, one, two, three, four, like a normal human.
And then the thumb behind the shoulder. 5.
Yep. Like a normal human, not
Not 7.
47.
Yeah.
Right.
Hen
All right.
spider.
So this was insulting and annoying, and I was pretty aggravated that AI that Meta did that.
Hmm.
And it highlights the never ever publish your artwork onto the internet ever again sort of thing, which means that all artists now will just die in obscurity because they managed to make a system of which there's no possible way that we will ever be able to publish
Hmm.
our stuff without AI wandering off with it
He got rid of
and
his
everything.
beard.
Yeah, he had a beard, but he doesn't anymore. Not only that, he has hair,
Hmm.
but he
Well,
doesn't have hair here.
well,
Apparently,
the
he's
the
Charlie Brown over here.
the top one could. I mean, I'm guessing that's not a couple. That's like a father figure or a father
Yeah,
and daughter.
these are buddies. They're buddies.
Yeah, buddies. Whereas the one lower, they're closer to age, so it looks more like high schoolers dating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a buddy thing. This is
Hmm.
they're best friends. They're best buds. But yeah, yeah. This
Hmm.
looks more like a high school picture. It really did like dink with the system quite a bit, and I was like, I don't know what the story was.
Hmm.
I think it's funny. They're both in uniforms, and they put them in like normal clothes or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I don't get it. Um, but I still think the best part's just this look on her face
Yeah.
combined with the hand.
Right.
It's like he's touching me with 27 fingers again, isn't he?
Hmm.
You know, those aren't my fingers. Anyway, that was one thing. That was aggravating, that was annoying, and that was insulting. But then they did this. And this bothers me more because the original, not one of my top tens as far as pictures go, because it wasn't. It was supposed to be a test print for a cell, making a cell. But
Hmm.
this version of it, I'm going to have to say it's actually better. And I don't like that. I like that even less.
Hmm.
It was one thing when it had 37 fingers, but that's the fingers there. And they
And it
did
did
the
a
fingers right on
yeah.
this
That
one.
they did a good job of copying that.
Yeah. And I mean, and, you know, that face there, not so bad, but that's arguably better.
Lost the freckles though.
Yeah, lost the freckles. She's got freckles. But I mean, this is an arguably better picture, and that aggravates me
Mm.
because I don't. It was one thing when it was making the picture,
Crappy.
first of all, yeah. I mean, first of all, if it was AI and it was stupid looking, that was like, well, okay. I mean, we even got a couple of good laughs out of it. But this is an arguably better piece, and I don't like that. And that does bother me. That
Right.
really does bug me. And I'm not sure what to think about that one. But this was the latest thing. I was okay. I mean, I wasn't okay with it, but at least I didn't feel threatened by the first one. You know what I mean? Like, I feel threatened by this. This makes me feel threatened. And so I was like, I don't know if I like that at all.
What I'm wondering is, since all AI stuff is compiled data art, what did it pull from for the rest of that? Because the background is not. I'm not sure how it interpreted that background from the background that you have, because it looks like she's in a battlefield there.
Yeah,
with flames and fire. Whereas in the other one, it's like, I'm hanging out in a garden.
Well, I don't know. These look like roses or something. I, of course, did not click on this because I didn't want to encourage it.
Right.
I just screenshotted it. So that's it.
So then
I didn't get any more of a high res, but I mean, like, things on here, like, it's got her rank correct on the shoulders, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, that doesn't make me feel good. The original does not have the abductor muscle there, but this one does. Like, the musculature is better. The lighting is correct. It's just frustrating. I mean, like, they even changed the lighting, because the lighting is from the left side over here on her nose, and they swapped it over to put it to the right side on her nose. And I'm like, man, that is, I don't know, that really bothers me. So originally I wasn't threatened at all, but now I'm threatened, and it's like that's not good. That's not good.
No. So the question becomes, because it's clearly your source material, is at what point is it a tool that you use to make your source material that you create look better without overstepping the bounds? Where's that line at?
Right. I that's, I don't know. I mean, like, this is where we've got to start talking about that particular aspect of it. It's, I mean, objectively, it's a better piece. Now, I'm not knocking my art. Don't get me wrong. I could do that piece in time. I did not, in fact, spend 12 or 13 hours on the top piece. I only spent about 45 minutes because it was supposed to be a test run for a cell. So I wasn't spending much time on it. But had I spent 15 or so hours on it, I could have come up with something similar to the piece below. But then that brings, like, all kinds of other questions too. For example, is it a good idea for me to just run a couple of my pieces through AI and then go back through and paint the picture back up so that it kind of looks like the AI version of the picture? You know what I mean? Like, as in sort of taking it as raising the bar?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Well, if we look at AI in all of its forms too, because you were using AI for D&D to come up with music.
Yep. Until I got terribly offended by it. I stopped doing that.
But you saw it from the side of oh, here's this tool that I can now do something that I couldn't do before.
Right.
And another example would be, I needed to write a bio for the playbill of the thing that we did last. So I wrote up what I had, and then I put it in ChatGPT and said, make this more professional and shorter. And what it came up with was not what I had, but it had all the information.
Right.
So in the music and the changing your resume to artwork, there is an aspect of it that is tools, but when it crosses that line of robbing artists, because it's like, I would not have hired a professional resume writer to write my bio for a silly little thing that I'm not getting paid for really anyway.
Yeah.
But it comes back to that thing too. It's like, I have no idea if the artwork that I grabbed for some of our D&D games, whether it was AI or not, because I just did an image search.
Right.
So I didn't check the source to see if the source was coming from that or not. I just needed a quick picture to kind of help give a little visual to the scene that was being set up. And It was a throwaway thing.
Right. And Brent's asking, where does the artist end in the piece? So that was actually my question, right? I mean, like, okay, so let's just pretend that I go on ahead and I take this dreamy version of this and say, oh, yeah, this is my art. Well, it kind of is. I mean, the AI would not have been able to make the picture had it not had the initial piece. The pose is the same. The colors are the same. The character is obviously my character. This is obviously my piece. This, I mean, down to the sidearm on her leg, which is exactly the right sidearm. She's carrying a standard issue Bellatrix Rising sidearm. So, I mean, it's like the question really is that my work? You know what I mean? Like that becomes, because then here's the expectation, right? Let's just pretend like you never knew me at all. You didn't know my artwork. You didn't, because I know Brent knows all of my artwork really well. So that would become a flag real quick for Brent, because he would see that piece and go, wait, come on. There's no way. You know, it doesn't look like my style. But what if you just experienced that in the wild and you never saw anything else of mine? And like, for example, I just brewed my comic book in quiet and then AI'd the whole thing and released that comic book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't release the original. To me, it feels like there'd be an expectation at some point in time. This was actually one of the things that made me worried about working with maquettes when I was doing the effectively tracing a maquette thing. That really bothered me, because the concern I had was that I'd go to a convention someday and somebody would say, just draw me real quickly a picture of your main character. Well, okay. I mean, you know, can I? Oh, yeah, sure. I could probably generate her pretty quickly. But without the maquettes, would I get the proportions correct? Would I, you know, get everything straightened out so that she actually looks the way she's supposed to look? Stuff like that. And if AI is generating all of this stuff, then my original work would never look like the AI work.
Right.
But then the question goes, is this my work? You know, it's the same thing I'm coming up with, you know, assistants coming up now all the time on Adobe, right? Adobe has been adding in AI stuff to punch up your work. And that's what they're doing, which means that there will also become this other piece of society, which is at some point in time, if you don't punch up your work with AI, you're going to be behind the curve. You know, everybody else is going to be generating stuff that's punchier than yours.
So this is something I just heard about not too long ago. November 2025, an AI generated country song titled Walk My Walk by the virtual artist Breaking Rust topped the Billboard Country Digital Song Sales chart, making a significant controversial milestone for AI. So yeah, it got the #1 on the Billboard's country digital song art, and it was AI created.
So when I was using Suno to make Ivy songs, there were two things that allowed me to do it. Thing number one, wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Thing number two, I don't have the money to pay Dave to do it for me. If I had so much as a dime I could throw at Dave, I'd have Dave do it instead. So I felt like, and thing number three, I was never going to put that out publicly. It was only going to be in our game, and it was only going to be for fun, to make my particular bard much more entertaining and laughable, because she's a laughable character.
Right. Yeah. It was for the table only.
It was for the table only. And I would never release them. They would never go anywhere. You'd never find them again. If anybody ever got an album, it would only be the people who were at the table. And I might actually do that, because it would be fun. And they were cute songs and stuff like that. And it might be kind of cool to have sort of an auditory memorial of that game.
But you got to make it a cassette tape, and you got to have it be Ivy's breasts with the little will parts being where the nipples would be.
You got it. That's exactly what it's got to be. But for me, that became a toy. You know what I mean?
Right. It was not
And that was
it was not
fun,
a
and that
it
was
wasn't a tool from
entertainment.
you weren't using it for money.
Yeah. And this, I don't know. I mean, this bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
And you could sit there and go, well, Guy, you did make AI music. You're obviously involved in here. Stuff like that. Whatever. And I'm not saying that I didn't. Just kind of thinking.
Well, it's the level to me. It's at the moment for me, and this is opinion. It's the level of what you're using it and what's the intention for it afterwards. Um, Something I'll probably never do, but it has occurred to me. Speaking of the D&D game, with as much AI stuff that's out there, I could theoretically type into an AI program, make a scene with this airship flying in with a dragon chasing it, and then it could generate it. Then I could go back in and say, okay, change this, change the colors, add this and that. And it would all be by me telling it what to do. But in the end, everything you're looking at would be AI generated if I were to do that. There's
Yep.
no way I'm going to have a budget to ever make the D&D game as a film, especially a live action CGI film. It'd be stick figures if I were to actually make it. But the technology exists there where it's actually possible. People are throwing together fake 1960s fake trailers of current movies.
There are things coming up now that on my feed that this is actually a funny thing. It started with a video that popped up on my Instagram feed of a cat on the porch, and he's got like a trumpet, and he starts blasting the trumpet, and the lady opens the door and goes, "Shut up! It's like 3 a.m." Kind of making fun of cats caterwauling in the middle. And then that one evolved into this cat playing this drum set, and he's got all the drums and everything. And and then this last one was an entire string of cats doing sort of the Mardi Gras, with the trumpets, dun, 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 dun. And they're like marching slowly, sort of thing. And it's an entire line of cats. And then I've gotten cats with doing karate and stuff like that. And okay, that's an appropriate use of AI. You can tell that's not real. These are cats doing crazy and bizarre and silly things. I think the funniest part about this whole thing was that it's getting to that weird middle ground. So also because of me, I have been worrying, or I've been getting videos as it figured out I'm a driving instructor. So I get car crashes and things like that. And I started clicking on these videos of people drifting K-Tora, which, we all know how much I love little teeny K-trucks. Well, in upper Hokkaido, there's this group of people that now takes those little K-Tora out in snow and ice and drift them around corners. So, I'm like, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to die. I can already tell this is the way I'm going to die. This is how I'm going to go out. And then the other day it came a 3-wheeler. They were doing that with one of those little 3-wheeler things. And I'm like, yep, that's the way I'm going to die. Well, as if this wasn't funny enough, now I'm getting videos of cats in rally cars, these cats. And there's like a dog in the passenger seat, and there's like a raccoon behind them all. And the dog's got the headset on, and he's telling them where, and I'm like, I knew that somewhere along the line, Meta would figure out and then blur these lines together.
Yeah, cat videos with cars.
Cats driving race cars around and drifting them, because naturally that's what we need. So anyway, which by the way, I find hilarious, and I'm loath to find that. And that adds to this whole thing, because the problem I've got is I love that. That's funny. We're never going to get a real cat behind the wheel of a car. Like, that's never going to happen. So I can't really sit there and say, I don't want to watch the AI. I'd rather watch the real thing. I'm never going to have a cat racing a rally car around the track with a dog in the passenger seat. So like, there's no way that this could ever be.
There's Toonce is the driving cat from SNL.
Yes.
Which was a puppet cat, of course.
Well, of course.
But still, Yeah, and the more and more you keep getting these where they're slowly getting the physics right. They're
Right.
slowly getting stuff looking correct.
I'm gonna bring Bob up to speed. Hey Bob.
Yeah.
Um we're talking tonight because what had happened initially was that Meta, in all of its infamous wisdom, um, did this. So it took one of my pictures right up here, my watercolors, and it decided to render it in anime initially. And we were making fun of it because, in the initial picture, it's two buddies talking to each other, and it didn't quite grasp what was going on. And of course, in AI fashion, the guy's got like 7,000 fingers, and she looks horrified that he's got his 7,000 fingers on her and everything like that. And that was bad enough that Facebook decided to arbitrarily try to sell this to me and say, hey, you want to do this instead to your artwork? And that was annoying. But then that wasn't bad enough. This is the next one. So this was my original picture. And the problem that I've got is what it made is arguably better. And that really worried me. So that's what we're talking about. The original picture, I mean, not to say that my art's bad. It wasn't bad. This was a practice piece for trying to make cells. So it wasn't, it was a fast done, quickly done piece. It wasn't designed to be beautiful, but this is really, really, really pretty. And it looks awesome. And it even got like the equipment, even the sidearm is correct and everything like that. And it's got her rank and the patches and everything like that are all correct. And that's what we're talking about. Is this was markedly one level up. This was scary. And I'm intimidated by what it did. And that wasn't cool. So that's what started this whole discussion. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, so
Mhm.
anyway, um, and actually, by the way, we also should tell you, Bob, that you didn't miss the last few weeks. We weren't on for the last few weeks, so we've been having a lot
Yeah.
of either all like two of us couldn't make it at any given point in time, and we've kind of decided that if two of us can't make it, we're canceling for the night.
Yeah, I tried to do a solo show, but it weirdly hiccuped and kicked it like stopped 20 minutes after the show.
Oh yeah, that's strange.
Because I was showing off the old Chandelar Magic the Gathering game from the gosh, when
100 years
was
ago.
that? 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was because you can get it for free now and play it online for free. It has its problems, but it's free. So I was showing that off, and then I was going to show off Ascension, and somewhere between that and Ascension, it just bombed. And luckily, our viewer Joan was on because she had actually messaged. It's like, "Hey, the video stopped." I'm like, "What?" Because it said it was still broadcasting.
Right.
But oh well. But yeah, you didn't miss anything.
It
I
didn't miss anything by missing us. We didn't
yeah
broadcast, so there's
yeah.
that.
Last week I went to a thing that I was hoping was going to be done in time for me to be back, but it went longer than I suspected. But it was interesting, and
That's what she said.
you might enjoy going to it, Guy. It's called Miscreant Theater, but it's just a cold read.
Oh,
Everybody gets the same script, and you're assigned a character, and you just cold read through the script.
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting and fun. But it's a once a month deal that they do that.
That actually sounds like that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, well, and that's what we're talking about sort of
Mm-hmm.
tonight. So that's our topic. AI is weird. Um, but that's what we were saying is like, first of all, that's rude. I mean, like, let's just go on ahead and put it out there. Meta, that's a dick move. Like taking my art and doing anything with it is literally going out there and saying, fuck you to all the artists that are ever
Mm-hmm.
out there.
Yeah,
Literally. I mean,
yeah. It's
that
like,
is
look, I can
so
do it
freaking
better.
rude. Yeah, but then to take my when you took my art and added 5,000 little fingers, well, that was funny. That just made it hilarious. But when you took my art and made it better, that's not cool. Because that's a give up moment for a lot of artists. If I
Mm-hmm.
had been 15 and they had done that to my art, that would have been it. I would have walked away. I would have just given up right there. I'd have thrown everything in the trash and stomped off in mad anger, and that would have been it. And I would have never drawn again. And that luckily I'm a 53-year-old artist, and I'm old and cranky, and I don't care anymore, and it doesn't bother me as much, and I've got stuff to do. So I'm going to keep going with my art, and it can just jump off a cliff. But I don't know what it would do to a 15-year-old. To 15-year-old guy, that would have been devastating. What's it doing to the children? Like,
someone think of the children.
I know. We always say, think of the children, and then like we don't actually, we like do all these things that are actually really bad for children. But I think about like young artists, these young artists who are new to this thing and new to the world, and their artwork isn't good yet because they just got out there and they just got started, and they don't have their balance yet, and they can't, they don't have proportions correct and whatever, or wherever they are in their work, and they get slammed in the face with, here's your art but better. Okay, that's it, I'm out. And I'm like, that's just, I can't even imagine. I think this would have been definitely, I mean, I'm just sitting here going, I'm grateful that I grew up as Gen X, because I just kept going, knowing that, I mean, part of the reason that I am intimidated by AI and kind of left the field was because it can do that so much faster than I could. That picture, I could do that if I had to. It would just take me 15 or 16 hours, but I could do it. You know what I mean? Like, I could sit there and just kind of keep cranking on it until I finally got it right. It'd definitely take 15 to 16 hours. And that's part of the problem. It's like,
yeah, because everything's time, because time is money, and the faster you can crank out stuff to sell, the more money you can make out of it, and the easier life is. And it's one of the reasons why I don't paint miniatures professionally all the time, because it's time consuming. I take on very few jobs because I want to continue to enjoy painting miniatures, and if I had to do it all the time, I would stop liking it. So speaking of miniatures, you know where you can buy some.
Speaking of miniatures, we have to switch all the thingies.
Yep.
All the thingies. There we go. So I can go. Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, The Massage Wizard, and your mom.
Yeah, I read an article, and AI was used to some degree of this, but now problem that Games Workshop is running into is they'll show pictures of a new figure that's going to be released like a month or two later to get the hype up, and people are taking the picture, rendering 3D prints out of it with AI, and then 3D printing the miniature before it's even released officially.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, that's and that's the other thing I'm seeing and I'm finding. I mean, the problem is once you engage in AI, it's almost like the algorithm knows you are AI compliant, because that's been a problem I've been running into as well, is that now I've started engaging in all these cats driving cars AI. And now it's like, oh, good. And so now I get all these ads for, and of course I did engage in Suno back in the day. And so, it's thinks that I'm into AI music, making AI music. And the problem is I'm not really. However, there are some new AI things coming out that are fascinating. I saw one where you could just whistle into it and create tracks of music by whistling or humming. And it would take the humming, identify the notes, change it to a trumpet, and there you go. One of the ones they were showing was you then do that, you hum all the notes in, and then you write lyrics on it, and it takes an AI voice and has her sing it. I mean, I'm like sitting there going, okay. So now you got these people, as long as you can carry a tune, you pretty much can compose anything you want. And that actually, I'm not 100% sure that that's not the same as a piano to some degree. I mean, like, right? I mean, like, we created entire music pieces that are solo piano. So, and that's the entire thing. So I'm kind of like, I don't know about that one. You're at least creating the music. You know, with Suno, it just generates the whole thing for you. All you
Mhm.
do is write the words. You don't even have to do that. You could technically go to Chat GPT and say, well, I think you can actually do it in Suno as well.
Hey,
But
Donald.
hey, Donald, I think you can go to I think I just never tried because, of course, I was too busy writing funnier and funnier lyrics. So I didn't care. I was having way too much fun with the lyrics. Um, but with Suno, you're creating all of it. You know, it's all being generated. You know, and what's so funny is I remember when I first created these songs, I was like, I'm totally gonna trick everybody in the game. It's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a riot. And now I'm looking back on it going, man, first of all, if I hauled out anything AI nowadays, people would be really ticked off at me. Um, so, you know, it's kind of one of those things, but it's like, I don't know. So it's bothering me, but
Mhm.
it's definitely bothering me what it did with my art. That is so not cool.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't even, I mean, that is just such a right in my face.
Mhm.
Like, and like I said, I didn't think about it until I said it tonight, but I would hate to have been some little kid
Yeah.
posting my art for the first time out there and the big world and having AI produce something that I wouldn't be able to make for another 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
I'd give up and rage quit.
It's an interesting question for teachers teaching art. Are they going to start teaching how to use AI tools to do art?
Yeah. I like that function, Donald. That's good. That's cute. Yeah, it's definitely one of those your bards better be able to sing in real life.
Well, then you could have a technomancer who uses an auto tuner.
Yeah. Hey, you could also, I mean, like you could do that with the same thing where like the Orkana of Time, you know, you have tunes and you just have a flute and you play the flute and it does, you know, a certain code in the flute and then your dumb horse comes at you. Stupid Epona. Anyway, um, but yeah, you could. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I'm sort of half predicting is with AI's creation of it's now making media left and right. Is I'm kind of hoping that that brings back a stronger appreciation from the masses for live entertainment.
Yeah.
Because if you go to see a play and there's actual people in front of you and it's not a screen, you know that it's not AI.
Yeah.
If you go to see a live performance, now, of course, the problem with live performances in music, and this has been for years and years now, tickets are just outrageous.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's actually what somebody had said, and it's actually something I'm going to start doing again
mhm.
is live streaming my drawings because the value is watching somebody do the art,
Yeah,
and that's the value of it.
yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
I imagine more than half the people that watched Bob Ross were not watching to paint what he was painting or see what he's painting. It was watching it because of who he was,
yeah,
and
or to see what
uh,
was coming up and see what was
yeah.
happening. Um, and that's definitely a thing.
Hmm.
Um, right? Yeah, it would be awesome if we could get the nanobots. Um, oh, I don't know, Bob. I wish I could have faith that AI would fall under its own weight, but I don't think it will. I think they'll just keep. The problem with AI is it's like everything else in the technology field, you know. Yeah, I enjoyed having you hanging out with me too. Donald and Brent both hung out with me all the time whenever I live stream. So I'm
Nice.
going back to live streaming at some point here, relatively soon, like in the next couple of weeks. I've just been since school ended, I've been reorganizing all of my digital assets and trying to get them all in one place. And I have like 5 different folders for all of my artwork, and it's just brutal for trying to get anything done. Um, so, but I will be coming back to, and actually, one of the things I want to do with it is I've wanted to set it up here on digital, print it out, and then hand ink it because I love hand ink work. So I've been thinking about doing that, hand inking my stuff. I think that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'd be a lot of fun and really cool. So anyway, just something to think about from the people of me.
Yep.
Been kind of pondering that. So
And also, we haven't really 100% decided if we're doing it or how we're doing it or if it's a collaboration or not. But we are talking about doing a different, separate podcast that is not specifically geek oriented, so we can explore things not geek oriented.
Yep.
And it was one of these. We both had the ideas separately, and we're discussing it, and realized, oh, we had similar ideas. Do we want to do a crossover thing, or how would we want to do that?
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. I feel like the driving thing is its own project.
Yeah. I had
enough
started
there.
up a second set of accounts for that out on the internets.
Okay.
So that way I can keep with the GS Davis art side for art
Mhm.
and just keep it sequestered to that way if I start talking politics or whatever and somebody's like, I don't like your politics, you don't have to worry about bailing
Yeah.
on my art, you know.
Right. Yeah, because there's definitely stuff I'd love to talk about, but this is not the forum to do that.
Right. It's not the forum to. That's one of the reasons why I got kind of frustrated with Andrea and Neil,
Mm-hmm.
because they were on here trying to get us into discussions about politics, and I'm like, it's just not the format.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's
yeah, see. Donald, we were talking about like the videos that are now showing up on my feed where we got cats and dogs that are behind the wheel of rally cars and they're rally racing. And I'm like, because I was watching cats playing drums and cats playing trumpets, and I thought that was cute. You know, there are a couple of videos out there of cats doing the karate and stuff like that. But then it realized I was actually like a car dude. And once it did, it started feeding me videos of cats doing rally races and cats. I'm like, okay. And that's like a thing. So, you know, Bob, I'm on board with you, man. I'm you know what? If that's the way this goes, I'm hoping for that. I'm putting my thoughts into that one. That's what I want. Because I agree with you. I want it to be a fad. It's just so, I want it to be a fad, you know. But that's a thought. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
well, once all the resources go out and we no longer have access to electricity, then AI will be dead.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
go. So I started watching. Gosh, let me see how old it is, because it is a very old series.
What is?
I'm looking up I want to see when it was originally released. It's not nearly as old as I thought it was. Okay, 5 years old. 2020. I've had lots of friends talk about how they thought the show Ted Lasso was awesome. And it's one of those shows where I just never got around to watching it because the trailers and what it looked like did not look like it was my kind of show.
Right.
It's a decent show. Oh. It's an American like not little league, but really small time football coach ends up going to England to coach a soccer team. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Donald's hitting on one of the scarier things.
Yeah, using it to try to sway votes and political
There have been times where, see, I'm really familiar with aircraft's boats, cars, things like that. And there have been times
Mhm.
where it's, look at this particular jet doing this one thing. And I'm like, you know, the only reason I know this is AI is because that's not where a Sidewinder comes from on this particular aircraft.
Mhm.
They've got it set up as if it was a different aircraft, and that's not. I'm familiar with the hard points of this aircraft, and that's not where a Sidewinder can fire from, or something like that. But other than that, if you didn't know that, it'd be very hard to tell. Um,
Mhm.
so so it's like that's brutal. Well, and one of the things that is showing up a lot on my feed, and I think it's kind of clever, cute. That's not the word. Interesting. Is I've been seeing these before afters. So you get like the one that just came over recently was Star Trek the original series. So you see Mr. Spock sitting on a couch, and in comes Leonard Nimoy and sits next to him, and it says, Mr. Leonard Nimoy in 1966, and then Leonard Nimoy when he passed away in 2016. And of course Nimoy has wings, or angel wings, and then it pans over and you've got uh, Chekhov, and then Walter Koenig comes in and sits next to him, and then he pans over and you've got Sulu, and then George Takei sits next to him, and every time they do, the AI the older character and the newer characters look at each other and smile or wave at each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's really well done and kind of scary, considering, I mean, obviously there are still things like sometimes they will sit down in the middle of a chair, or, whatever, they'll put their arm through the other person instead of around the other person, or, you know,
Mhm.
and it's like, and those things, I don't mind that so much. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things that was fascinating that I thought was kind of cute was they've got this recent trend that was going around on AI of taking selfies on various sets, and the first time I saw it was Evangelion. So the guy comes up and he runs right up onto the set, and on this, it's like a live action version of Rey, and she's in a plug suit, and she's got the blue hair and everything like that, but it's obviously a Japanese actress instead of an anime character. And he comes up and puts his arm around her and then takes a selfie with her, and then she waves and smiles, and then goes, and then he runs over and then takes a picture with Asuka, and then and then there's Shinji, and then as he's doing this, every time he goes to the next person in the background, there's like, you can see the Ava is sitting back there getting like sparks are flying off of him, somebody's like welding on it and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's not bad, and actually kind of scary. I'd almost be willing to watch a version of Evangelion that was like this, in this way. It's a fascinating thought process. So, but that's been a thing as well. And so it's like, that's what Donald's saying is stuff that's impossible. The one that came up just a little while ago was 80s television shows. So the dude's running from, scene to scene, he's snuggling up against, there he's with Michael Knight, and, they're grinning at each other, and takes the picture. And then he goes over to the A team, and he's
Mhm.
like got his arm around, BA, and he's got his arm, like that, taking a selfie with them. And, and then he runs to the next one, Family Ties. So he's, Michael J. Fox. And, you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of, I was like, huh. And he goes, and like when he goes out to Airwolf, in the background, you can see Airwolf's propellers are starting to spin up. And I'm like, that's not bad. Like, none of this is, and that's, I mean, as long as it's obvious, that's obvious. Like,
Mhm.
he's sitting there with David Hasselhoff, who's 25 years old, smiling and grinning for a cell phone. We all know there's no way that could have possibly happened, because David Hasselhoff could never have had a cell phone at that point in time. So it's one of those things that I don't know. How do I feel about that? Is that bad or is that good? Are we taking away from creators? What are we doing?
Mhm.
And that's part of my concern. I don't know. I mean, I do
Yeah.
think though that you're right what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up in a situation where it's going to be valuable to Bob Ross the thing, because it's never going to be about the picture. It's going to be about Bob Ross, which to a degree, art has always been that way anyway. If I painted a Mona Lisa right now, it wouldn't be as valuable as the Mona Lisa. You know? So, you know, because it's the value in the Mona Lisa is its age. Picasso made this point 100 years ago by saying that all he had to do was scribble on a napkin and it was worth $1 million because it was a Picasso. And so he was making, and Dadaism, when we came out with Dadaism and they were sticking urinals on the wall and saying that's art, you know, so I mean, to some degree, we are kind of making a statement about art in its own way, in that it's not really the art that's the thing, it's the artist to some degree.
Yeah, I wanted to look this up because I remember a lot of this. But yeah, local car dealership uses 100% AI generated ad. McDonald's uses AI generated ad. Coca-Cola, and it's and there's a YouTube thing where this one guy said, I recreated a $300,000 commercial for $30 using AI. And so that's the thing. As long as companies can save money, they're going to start leaning towards the cheaper choice, unless if there's enough of an outcry and pull against it.
And that's why I quit. I mean, that's why I walked away. Oh yeah, Bob, we're 100% taking away from creativity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's absolutely. And I'm noticing that, like, now I'm seeing video, or not video, but I guess video, AI generating things that generates pictures with a button that says use AI to boost up your prompt. And I'm like, I don't even know what to think about that. Like, well, AI has already taken away jobs. So, and I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like, if this wasn't a capitalism, I guess I wouldn't be as concerned, right? Because it's a capitalism. And the resources here are money. And if my PC is the one making money for some other company and not for me, then I'm going to starve to death while a company makes money. That's not the way this should work. You know, if this wasn't a capitalism, I guess I wouldn't be as threatened, because everybody would be able to have food, but you're expected to make enough money to have food, to buy your own food. You know, nobody's giving you food, so you have to find a job somewhere, and AI is taking away a lot of those jobs. AI is taking jobs away from programmers, taking jobs away from musicians, from artists. I think though, with musicians and artists, we can at least combat it by doing live performance, because performance will always be a thing. But how do you know that we didn't make an AI generated version of me drawing something? Check the number. When you watch me do these performances, people, check my fingers. There should always be always be only 5 fingers. Make sure I have enough fingers. Wait. So
I was trying to find the name of these guys.
Oh yeah, see, that's not good either. Donald's saying that there was an AI video where people were fat shamed, so, and stuff like that. That's not cool. Yeah, that's the other thing. Now you can take people and use them.
I can't find I wanted to give these guys credit, but I can't find their name. I'm just finding other people that's posted stuff by them. But there are these 2 young Asian kids who made a video to and they were making fun of AI. It's not AI at all, but they move and do stuff to make it look like it's AI. And so they're like reaching behind them and pulling out like bowls of spaghetti and stuff. And so they're using sleight of hand to just generate this
Oh,
stuff.
that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it's really clever about how they go about making fun of it without
And Bob, it's kind of like what I just started with the show here. When it first made a mimic of my artwork, that was pretty lousy. But the second one, it got better. So it may be creating spaghetti code right now, but that's not going to last.
mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing more and more people saying, I built this little app to do this thing with AI. And the app runs. I don't know how well. I'm not a programmer, so I can't be sure I know what any of that means,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm only thinking that at some point here, Bob, it's going to get smart enough,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't even know what to do about that.
Well, I think at least for the next, I would say 5 to 10 years, a good job security job to get into would be becoming an expert at spotting AI, because there's going to be court cases of like, here's video of you killing your wife. It wasn't
Right.
me. So
Right. And I don't know why. Hey, that congratulations, by the way, Donald, for your nephew.
yeah.
That is cool, and that's an accomplishment. Yeah, just hope AI doesn't kill our creativity. I concur.
That's been a concern just from having mass media, because it's kids these days, they don't know how to be bored.
Speaking of kids these days,
Yeah.
and I've made a transition on this one.
Uh-huh.
The first 2 episodes of Starfleet Academy came out, and I'm giving it a pretty good rating on it. I felt like the first episode was much stronger than the second. They've got Tig Notaro in there, and I feel like they underutilized her. I love her so much that it just bums me out. Bums me out that they underutilized her, but they'll get her in somewhere along the line, I'm sure. The characters are really wild and different, and I like them all. It does have a certain amount of young adult feel to it. But it's an academy, so that makes some sense.
But there's also, and I would say, I don't know if there's a market, but there's definitely that part of the Star Trek universe hasn't really been pushed a lot, right? The young adult Star Trek stories.
Correct. So that is a thing. There is something else that's interesting about it that I think is cool. They're talking about the Fractured Federation. So they could have placed Starfleet Academy in the more recent timeline, like, say, for instance, right around where Lower Decks was, or even where Picard was, which is right around the very turn of that century, the 2300 century. So could have done that. They didn't. Instead, they placed it at the end of Discovery. And initially, they put it at the end of Discovery century because they were going to have Mary Wiseman in it. And Mary Wiseman was Tilly from Discovery. And they were going to have her moved over. So that was a thing they were originally going to do. They didn't actually, I mean, they're keeping Tilly in there, but she's not the main star. That was the original initial drive. Instead, they brought in Holly Hunter. But the entire concept is about the fractured Federation now having to be pulled back together again post-burn. And actually, that is an interesting, that interests me.
You said artistic,
the second
but
episode.
I'm guessing you mean autistic. Or am I wrong?
Donald?
I haven't seen the series yet, so I don't know.
I don't know what Donald's talking about. I think he's saying he wants to just see that. So, um,
I see.
but the long and the short of it is that with this particular episode, I was very impressed with it. It was in episode 2, they talk about things like bringing in another ex-Federation member that has separated from the Federation and now has to come back, and they're negotiating with them to try to get them to come back into the Federation, a race that we are familiar with and one that we know very well, but is during the burn left the Federation. So a Federation race. And I think that's fascinating. So I'm actually intrigued. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm on board with this. I think the USS Athena is wild. That's the ship. The main ship is actually the Academy. So the Academy is the ship. And so what happens is the Academy goes out, does stuff, and the Athena, and then she comes back. And when she comes back, she goes to San Francisco, and there's a big pillar, and she lands on the pillar, and then the saucer section lowers down, and it becomes the Academy grounds. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like, the starship is the Academy, and I like that. That was neat. So that was kind of like Maquis. No, not yeah. I mean, it's similar to the Maquis in Voyager, except this is a real. I don't want to do too many spoilers, but this is one of the founding, well, not one of the founding members of Federation, but one of the members of the Federation. In Picard's time, it's one of the normal members that you know. And then all of them separated from the Federation when the burn happened. And in Discovery, and spoilers to Discovery, in Discovery, they brought back the Navarians, which would be the Vulcans. So the Vulcans come back into the fold and form the new Federation. So they have to now gather all the old guys back in again. And apparently this takes place in a point where a couple of more of them have already joined, because the Federation flag has a few more stars. So they're getting there. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, my review of this is not bad. I'm actually on board with it. It's not as good as Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks, but I don't find it to be at Picard season 1 and 2 or Discovery. Picard season 3 stands by itself. So in the upper parts of this, I love Picard season 3. That was a good one. All right, so that's my review.
Yeah. Well,
So
we're at our last minute,
Bob. So it's about time for us to wrap ourselves up here.
Mm-hmm. Like a mummy,
right? Star Trek isn't real unless there's Vulcans and Klingons. It's got both of those. So you just have to deal with the fact that the Vulcans live with the Romulans now. So the planet's now called Navarre, which was, by the way, the old name of Vulcan before
it was. Then they crossbreed, and you got Vlingons.
Yeah. So Kling Jahar.
I wasn't going to go the other way because that just sounds weird. So
right.
People can make that up themselves.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So next time.
So until when next we meet.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for joining us today, Bob, Donald, and Brent. It's great to have you guys here. We really appreciate it. And thanks for the engaged discussion. We'll see you all next week, theoretically, provided that all three of us will make it here.
At least two, right?
At least two. All we need is just two. We can get this to run. But until then, I think that's all the time we've got for today.
Yep.
I've been Guy.
I've been